This is The Follow Through, a podcast series presented by the Free Relief Golf Podcast. Thank you for subscribing to this bonus content and welcome to #Team Freddie. It's great to have you here supporting my journey and I hope you enjoy following along as I document my golfing progress throughout the competitive season. Without much further ado, let's give you what you came here for. Hello and welcome to The Follow Through, presented by the Free Relief Golf Podcast. If you're listening to this, then you have chosen to subscribe to this bonus series of podcasts, and I'm very grateful to you for your financial help in supporting my golfing season. For this episode, we are playing in the Fife Team Championship, this year hosted by Pittreavie Golf Club, otherwise known as Dunfermline Golf Club. The club is celebrating its centenary year in 2022, and the layout is the only Dr. Alistair Mackenzie design to be found in Fife. Dr. Mackenzie, of course, is most well known for his role in designing Augusta National, where the Masters tournament is played every year. The Fife Team Championship itself is an 18-hole team stroke play event whereby teams of 4 from clubs all over Fife compete against each other to become county champions. Every score counts towards the team total, and the handicaps of the competitors always vary depending on the strength of their club. But generally most golfers involved will be scratch or better, with a few single-digit players thrown in for good measure. There was a starting field of 27 teams, so 108 players in total, and my golf club, the new Golf Club St Andrews, was one of the stronger teams in the field, so we expected to have a chance of winning overall. Going into this tournament, my handicap sat at plus 1.2 exactly, and we were feeling fairly confident after some strong recent performances on away courses, especially in the Golf Breaks Get Back to Golf Tour organised by Alan Tate. Now, I had won some prize vouchers after rounds of 1 over at Fortrose and Rosemarkie and level par at Castle Stewart, and there'll be more discussion to come regarding the tour in general in the future. But for now, that's all you need to know, and if you haven't already done so, you can check out the pictures of the stunning Castle Stewart elsewhere on the Patreon platform for the Free Relief Golf Podcast. Finally, before we get into it, it's worth noting that the Fife Team Championship took place on Saturday the 7th of May 2022, and I had travelled back on the Friday before it, Friday the 6th, to Scotland via train, having had a week of practice and refuelling back in my hometown of Southend-on-Sea. I was back there for the wedding of a friend, had a lovely time, but that probably was a factor in how the performance of this tournament goes, so please bear that in mind. With all that being said, let's get on with it. Let's start with my thoughts before the tournament began. Okay, so just in the car. This is going to be a quick report because I haven't got loads of time. I've left myself an hour and a half to warm up here at Pittreavie Golf Club. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's Pittreavie or Pittreavie or whether it's blended in or not, but ultimately who cares? We're here. It's their 150th anniversary and it's the Fife Team Championship. I've just had a week away in Essex. The practice that I've done, I was back for a friend's wedding, but the practice I've done has been actually pretty productive towards today. On a Parkland course, my club back down south that I've been a member of for quite a while, Garran Park. It was in pretty good nick, and I did a lot of putting practice while at home. Saw my trainer twice, body feels in good shape. Had a lesson with my coach, swing coach, and he was pretty pleased with how things were looking. I've put in a lot of practice, as you already know from the previous episodes of this, and he's pretty pleased with how my swing's looking, and my dispersions are pretty accurate at the moment. I've got a short right miss going potentially, and occasionally a pull, but really it's the short right miss that we're just keeping an eye on. But in general, I'm hitting where I want to. I'm hitting my numbers okay. The courses are getting a bit burnt out now, a bit warmer. There hasn't been much rain over the winter and spring. Feels like summer today. It's quite warm, even though my tee time's 10:40 today. So the ball's flying, really feeling the benefit off the tee. Had a game last week with my dad and a friend at a place called Maylands in Essex. I hadn't played there in years. They used to have the Essex Under-14 Championships there, and I think I played it once and had a top 10. Not to blow my own trumpet, but yeah, played that and I shot 67, which was 4 under, and I know it's casual and I hadn't put a score in, but I did hole everything out. And that was really encouraging. I could go to a course where I hadn't seen it before, or certainly not for a long time. And I could plot my way around. I could hit 3-irons off tees, I could hit hybrids, didn't have to hit driver everywhere with the new distance that we've created in the gym. And that was really encouraging. So that gives me hope for today, because we're here at Pittreavie. Never seen the course before. I'm going to go get a course guide because I'm going to need it. I really hope they've got course guides. I hope they're not quirky like Craig Miller and don't have that, because I could be in real trouble today. I've just pulled up here in the car park and the course is way hillier than I had in my mind, which is fine. There's not many flat courses in Scotland unless you get to the links, but certainly not many flat inland courses by the look of it. But from having scouted the scorecard online, we've got a lot of short par 4s today. We start with 2 par 5s, which will be interesting. Par 5 to finish. There's a couple of holes, like the par 3s seem quite tough, 180, 200 yards in Parkland. There's not much ground help. I don't know, I just feel confident. I got to train back up yesterday. My friend's wedding was Thursday night. Got to train back up yesterday, 2 o'clock. Got in about 9:45, had dinner. Ultimately, I didn't really get to bed until about midnight, and then had to be up early to get here. This course is about an hour away drive from St Andrews, so I had to be up about 7 this morning to be ready, get all my stuff together, unpack a little and get breakfast. I had to make sure I get breakfast, otherwise I get really grumpy. I just had to make sure everything was in place. So I had to be up at 7, so I didn't get loads of sleep, and I'm just wary of that after all the travelling yesterday and not getting loads of sleep overnight, I've just got to be really patient today. I know that's kind of my goal at all these tournaments, but just got to be patient. And there's going to be frustration, no doubt, at points. I haven't seen this course before, but we just got to stick to our game plan. And our game plan is put it to 120 yards as often as possible, because a full wedge for me right now is landing about 115, 116 if we're going to be pedantic about it. And if I can keep leaving myself full wedges in today from the fairway, then we're going to be just fine. We're going to give ourselves some looks at birdies. We're probably not going to be making many bogeys by doing that. We've got some par 5s where it feels like they're going to be reachable. There's nothing crazy long. I think they're all around 500, maybe just shy of 500 yards. So they're gettable today in theory. I don't know what direction they're going or what the wind's going to be doing, but it's a pretty mild day, a bit cloudy, but a bit of rain coming up here, driving here. So maybe that'll soften the course a little, who knows. But yeah, I'm going to warm up, hit some balls, hit some putts, just get all my stations sorted, feel good. Like I say, back at Garran Park this week, saw my coach, saw my trainer, and I did a lot of putting practice. So I hit a few balls, played some holes, but I did a lot of putting practice. Maybe I put in 4 to 5 hours this week, just doing my drills, making everything feel good, making a stroke feel good, feeling confident about the putting, and that can only stand me in good stead for today. So it's the Fife Team Championship. There's teams of 4. So I'm playing with 3 others today. It's combined total of the 4 of them. I'm looking to put in a good one. I just hope everyone else can contribute. I hope I contribute as well. But yeah, looking forward to it. These are the kind of fun events I like. I've played it once before at Lady Bank. That was when I was off 3 handicap and shot maybe a 4 or 5 over, something like that there. I think it was 5 over and I actually got cut. So the setup for these courses is notoriously probably not as difficult as some of the amateur stuff that I play, but it's not going to be easy out there. And I think some of the scoring will probably show that. And yeah, so we're looking to go par or better. That seems to always be the goal now. The ball striking is certainly there. If we can putt, we can do it. And just want to put in a good shift for the new golf club St Andrews. We put in a good result today. Who knows? We could win the thing. So we're certainly capable of it. The other guys in the team, Jim's the captain. He's +2. We've got Mike DeVries. He's a +3. There's another guy, Ross, who I think is a +1, +2. He's the current club champion. So Mike's won the club champ a couple of times. So we've got a good team. About as good a team as we can have. I'm liking our chances. I'm liking my chances. I've done all the prep. Got to keep my head on my shoulders and do my best. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to go warm up and I'll catch up with you later. Okay, it's post Fife Team Championship. I've played a round there at Pittreavie, however you pronounce it. I shot 6 over par, which is 77, and I am disappointed with that. I was on for a better score, and I guess in the end everything caught up with me the last few days, the travel and the lack of sleep, and I kept my attitude okay. Attitude was fine, I dealt with the blows, but ultimately just did not get it done today. I was level through 11 and then let it slide towards the end. Not really spectacularly, just bogeys, 3-putt bogeys at that. So let's go through the key details. How did my performance compare to my expectations? Well, as you just heard in my pre-ramble, I was expecting par or better, and there was probably no reason to not expect that today. The conditions were pretty benign. The wind at times maybe got up to 8 miles an hour, but it's a tree-lined course. There's undulation changes, yes, but the calculations were fairly straightforward. You could get the correct clubs. The greens were fairly receptive, not really making big pitch marks, but you could get flags. They weren't necessarily tucked away massively. The setup was pretty fair, I'd say. And it shows some of the scores I've seen coming. I think the lowest at the moment is 4 under. I think there's a couple players under par, maybe the best part of, 8 to 10 players under par, but generally like 1 under. I think there's a 2 under in there somewhere, but 4 under actually was the guy that I played with today, who is, you may have heard of him, he's called George Murray, but he used to be a European Tour professional. I think he came 3rd in the Alfred Dunhill Links one year, but he's turned back amateur now. He sells fish and he's having a great time doing that, and really pleasant company, really enjoyed his company. But he's off for +7 right now, and he shot 4 under today, and that was the best score by far, certainly from when I left the clubhouse. I'm now back home in my driveway, just trying to debrief, I suppose. But yeah, so that's an ex-European Tour pro shooting 4 under today. And I would say for my score, obviously I lost to him by 10. Needless to say, we haven't won the Fife Team Championship as the new club, despite there being some other good scores from the other guys. I think Jim was 1 under. I think Ross was 1 over. I think Mike shot 5 over. So I had the worst score out of our team, which is disappointing because I know I've been playing better than that. Just got rattled at the beginning, to be honest. It starts with 2 par 5s, and this almost summarises my day, I'd say, because there was a lot of good stuff to take out of it because I am playing well. But the first, I hit it straight right off the tee, kind of from nowhere, and I just figured that I was aiming it there. And then I just had no idea what the deal was with the second shot. I couldn't get the flag from over on I'd hit it onto the 9th fairway. I couldn't get the first flag from where I was. I lasered something at 225, so I figured it was a 3-wood, and my plan was to lay up all day and just hit it where I could see it. But it seemed too short into the par 5 to just lay up, so I absolutely nutted this 3-wood straight right into what I thought were some trees where I'd be able to find at the bottom, but it turns out it was absolute death over on the right side. So I never saw that again, but I hit provisional just in case, because the guys I was playing with said they didn't see it down. And hit my provisional to 20 foot on the green and made the putt for par. So that could have been an eagle, but it was a par. And yeah, what can you do about that? And then I birdied the next par 5, which was just drive a 3-wood to about 15 foot, like really good shots, and made a birdie there. And that settled me down, but I was still kind of buzzing from the first hole, just adrenaline. And there was a lot of people about, and the Fife selectors. And, you know, I'm in that Fife chat now on WhatsApp, and I guess today I felt a little bit of judgment. I wanted good judgment in a good way, like they were going to see my score and perceive something into my play from it, and I'd like to be selected for these teams, you know. But so there was a little bit of added pressure, but nothing that I couldn't deal with. But at the beginning, I was just trying to settle myself down. Par the 3rd, which is a good par 3. You know, I won't go through the whole round. I'll just do the key bits. But basically, I kind of was settling down. I had a 3-putt bogey at 4, which was stupid. And that was kind of a summary of the day. I was doing what I needed to do, laying up off tees, hitting 4 wedges, leaving myself maybe 15 to 25 foot outside looks for birdies, and I did make a few of them, but I also 3-putted quite a few of them as well, just where I thought I had the pace of the greens, but actually I was just leaving myself 3-4 footers from that distance, and just the greens got a little bit ropey towards the end. I had no real complaints with them, but they were just they're that classic Parkland green, bit flowery on top, and they weren't even bobbling. They were just kind of waving a bit, what's the word? They were just oscillating on their line. They weren't really holding their line. So I guess I got a bit rattled by that as well. Because then you're starting to think about, instead of trying to make your 20-footer, you're then trying to think about getting it close. And what can you do? Big moment, I doubled the 8th from 85 yards, a par 4. Had 85 yards in, hit a wedge through the green, which was bad. It was off a downslope and downhill, downwind. It turns out it wasn't the place to leave it. I probably should have just hit driver and got up by the green, which is what my playing partner George did. But I didn't. And I guess that was the theme of the day as well, is I've never seen this course before. Some of the courses I've played recently, I've been able to plot my way round and I haven't been punished for any errors. Whereas today I kind of plotted my way around, didn't make the most of the plotting with the birdie chances I had. I think I had 3 birdies today. And then I punished myself in a couple of places by not actually taking advantage of the birdie holes, just by not knowing they were there. So I 3-putted there from about 5 foot, just hit the first putt way too quick. That pin was actually a bit tricky. It was on a side slope. And then I just went up to tap in from 2 foot, didn't go through my routine and just got in my head, missed the short one, double bogey. But then I backed it up with a birdie and actually I thought it was a short par 4. It was 290 to the back, 255 front, I think it was. It was downwind, slightly downhill. I hit a hybrid. And when we got up there, I just couldn't find the ball. And I thought that could be in. And I thought that'd be the best bounce back from a double you've ever seen. Getting a hole in one on a par 4, be 1 under for the 2 holes. But actually the ball's through the green. So I hit that hybrid about 290, which was a good hit. Up and down that for birdie. I was 1 over on the front, just kind of holding it together. But like I say, still rattled, still not quite comfortable. I guess I was just never comfortable today because I didn't know where I was going. And it just felt like one of those days where a disaster was around the corner and you just had to kind of fend it off. And I was not successful on the back nine. So made a really good 20-foot putt, 18-foot putt for par at 10 after short-sided myself with the approach shot, which was silly. And then I birdied 11, again making, this is no exaggeration, why would I exaggerate to you? It was a good 20-foot putt, I'd say, for the birdie at 11. So then I got myself back to level and we get to the 12th hole, which is a par 3. Great par 3. To be fair, this course, I really like the layout of Pittreavie. I'd recommend it to people. They call it the Fife Augusta because it was the only course in Fife that was designed by Dr. Alistair Mackenzie, who did, you know, along with Bobby Jones, he designed Augusta National where the Masters is played. And you could really tell with some of the greens, especially on the par 3. So like the 3rd hole was a 200. I think it was playing 202 today, par 3, slightly into the wind, hit 3 iron there. And you could tell that green was exactly like the 6th hole at the Masters. You know, just they had massive 2-tier greens on some of these holes. There was at least 3 or 4 of them. And they were proper slopes. So if you got to the top, it would roll you all the way back down the front of the green and you would be, 30 yards away from the flag. And then you'd really have to hit the putt back up. And to be fair, that only happened to me once today, and that was on the 18th. But I saw another one of my playing partners, Robbie, who was a good lad. He really struggled with some of those putts going up the hill. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying it. He definitely had a 4 putt out there. I think it was 2 4 putts he had just by being down the bottom of the hill. So, the course was not for mugs. You couldn't just fake it around there. You had to know where you were going, what you were doing, and where to land it. But the point being that those greens are Augusta-esque. They weren't running like Augusta. They were still probably like 8 or 9 on the stimp and a little bit raggedy. And is raggedy a word? I don't know. They were shaggy in some places, which didn't seem to affect it from distance. But when you're up close and you had all the foot traffic of the day, we were towards the end of the field. I think people have been playing since 7 o'clock. We were 10:40 teeing off. I think maybe the last tee time was just before 12. So we're towards the end of the day. I think we saw them perhaps not in their best light. But that's no excuse for what was to come. So the 12th hole is kind of like the 12th at Augusta, if you can picture that. But it's the opposite. So you've got a green that instead of goes in a shape from like front left, it doesn't go diagonal from front left to back right in a line. It actually goes the other way. It goes from front right to back left. So kind of the opposite of a Nike swish. Or a Nike swoosh, should I say. I don't know. That's an advert for Nike. Let them know it's on here. I might get some money out of it. So anyway, we get to this 12th hole. It's 144 to the flag. You're straight down a hill, and there's a burn at the front of the green going diagonally. There's a big backstop that you could land it maybe 15 yards long of this flag, and it would come back. But the green itself is only 12 deep, so it really was a small target when you consider that standard small greens are like 30 yards long, maybe 28 yards long. This one was 12 long, so I just hit an approach shot at 10, and I'm going through this because this was a crucial moment in my round. I've just got back to level par, and I'm doing exactly what I was expecting, but I'm not feeling comfortable. And I just had a shot which was about 145, and I took a bit off a 6-iron. It was into the wind, out of the fairway, and I left it short. And I made a great up and down to make the par, but that was still in my head when I got on this tee shot. 144, straight downhill, and the wind wasn't as into, but it was still into off the left. Pin was middle left, so I mean, any pin there is going to be close to the sides, but it was about 6 yards on, like bang in the middle of that left-hand tier. And the green as well wasn't flat either. It had a kind of a tier raised in the middle of the green, and then it fell down to the sides on the right and left, so it was kind of flanked at the sides with one tier in the middle. One level, one platform, one perch, if you will. So anyway, it's 144, and I think I've just got to commit to a club here because we're not coming up short with that penalty area running there. And this is where I just needed a practice round, right? I just needed to hit a couple of shots to figure out the club, but on the day I just had no idea. So I figured the 6-iron pitched about 130 something on that 10th hole. That was going slightly uphill, so this was going downhill. I probably still should have taken a bit off a 6. Anyway, somehow I thought it was like 155 to that back hill, and if I went 155, it was still going to be okay, and it was going to release back to the flag. And basically I hit a full 6-iron that completely flew everything, and George did a real good job of finding that ball. I actually then stepped up, hit provisional, took a bit off a 7-iron, and I stuck it to about 8 foot. So that was a bit sick. Found the ball, and then I was just in thick stuff, had no control over it, going down this hill that I could have used as a backstop towards the burn. And I'm not going to say there was only one place it was going, but I needed to try and flop it out of this thick stuff where I had no control to get it to land in thick rough, to get it to bounce down there, or it was going to do exactly what it did, which it came out hot, pitched off the downslope, and went into the burn at the front. Kept my head, took the drop, the correct drop. I could drop it green side, had a little chip, and I actually nearly holed the chip for a 4 and made the double bogey. So now I'm back to 2 over, but we've already, after the 8th, we were 2 over, and we managed to get back with birdies at 9 and 11. So okay, we're 2 over. Let's just keep hitting greens, stick to your game plan, keep leaving yourself 120 yards, full wedges. You'll be rewarded for your patience. So, and then it just didn't materialise. Had a wedge in, 52 degree at the next hole, stuck it about 20 foot above the flag, and it was a bit of a slippery putt, but I 3-putted it. It was no more than 3 feet, but again, this is just what was happening. I went through my routine, committed to it. Perhaps I wasn't as comfortable as I could be over putts, but still committed to it, and it just stayed on the right side. It never turned, even though it was I'd say an inside right putt, so I started it a bit outside of where I wanted, but it didn't have any turn on it. Just wobbled over to the right, and that was the word I was looking for earlier, wobbling, not oscillating. They're just wobbling a little bit on their lines and not necessarily consistent with where you could read them. Had a wedge into 14, again, made it a struggle of a 2-putt from 20 feet, but made a good 4 or 5 footer coming back. Had a full wedge into 15, missed it right side in the fringe, and then just 3-putted from 30 feet. Again, another wobbly putt from about 4 foot. 16 was a long par 3 where I've just short-sided myself bogey, and then I parred 17, then I bogeyed 18, as I alluded to earlier, where massive tiered green, par 5, gentle dogleg, left to right, up the hill, round the corner, and missed my drive right. I had to chip out. It left me about 163 to the flag. Again, this could be a summary of my day, actually. I had 163 flag, it's straight downwind, it's out the rough, and I thought if I hammer a 9-iron high, it's got a chance of landing. The pin was on the back tier, and I needed to land it probably about 158 to be good, because if I'd taken more, I probably had 170 to a massive hill that was behind the green, similar to the 12th, where you could, maybe it would come back off it, but I didn't really want to find out, to be honest. I was just a bit nervy about my clubbing, so went for a full 9-iron. I landed it 156, and it was just got the top of the tier, rolled all the way back down to the front, left me a 40-footer, 50-footer up the hill, at which I 3-putted in similar style to the ones I've already described. So, that's a brief summary of what we've just been doing, of how the round actually went. And, it wasn't the worst thing that's ever happened in the world. It's a bit disappointing because I shot 77 and I've been playing better. You know that. I've already described it. I've been practicing well. It's all feeling good. Swing's good. And I'm just not pulling the rounds out. And it will happen. I know it will happen because it's happened in the past and when I've played worse. So I've just got to... A good thing today was that they did have yardage books. So I could plan my way round, and I did. And off the tee, I was generally in good spots, except for... and the only times I made poor decisions was at 8 and 12, which cost me double bogeys, and that was just not knowing the course. 8, I would have gone for the green, no doubt, because there was actually quite a bit of room up by that green. I'm hitting my driver straight enough, or my 3 wood. My 3 wood probably could have got there, to be fair. And 12, I've got the club right with my provisional ball, so they're the big damage. And I know it's easier said than done, but take those 4 shots off, and now suddenly we're 2 over, and it's a much more respectable score, perhaps more indicative of how I actually played. So yeah, just didn't feel comfortable today, and I think that back 9, I was a level through 11, finished 6 over for those last 7. No good, but I think it all kind of came back to not bite me, but I was tired. I didn't get enough sleep. I kept my attitude good. I was pretty calm and positive throughout all of it. I was never a misery to my partners or anything like that. So I'm pleased with that, and it just feels like I'm disappointed, but there's going to be another day. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. We've got the RNA gold medal next week. We've got club championships coming up, and maybe now's not the time to peak. Maybe I've got to go through this in order to, my plan for this week is to put in another hard stint of practice. I've been practicing a lot of my putting. My swing's in a good place, but I'm going to get another month membership of that indoor golf centre. I think that's going to be good for me. Hit balls, really dial these wedges. I think one thing that I got out of today was I kept laying up to 120, and that was fine. But it left me a lot of, as you've been hearing, 20 to 25 footers. And I think if I'd just been laying up to 100 and leaving myself full 52 degrees instead of a full, P wedge, that might have been more beneficial. And maybe that would have got me slightly closer. Maybe that would have brought my dispersion into maybe 12, 15 feet instead of 20, 25. And that could have made a difference today, because George, who shot his 4 under 67, he hadn't seen the course either before. He plotted his way round, similar style, but he kind of went for it a little bit more. And I don't think I had to hit driver off every tee, but I think I could have hit 3 wood a lot more, or I could have hit hybrid a lot more. I hit 3 on quite a lot today, and it left me okay, but I think I just left myself a bit too much to do on the greens, and maybe I should have adapted to that sooner. I should have figured out, hang on, these 3-4 footers are not pleasant today. Maybe I should take on a bit more to try and leave myself closer birdie putts, and that would leave me more tap-in putts for par, like 1 foot, 2 foot putts that you just haven't got to factor in the wobbly greens for. So maybe that's something I've learned, and that feels like it's a kind of subtle thing to try and bear in mind for the future. I'm not entirely sure when else it's going to come into play in my schedule this year. I guess there's a few other events at Parkland courses, but yeah, I don't know. It's just tinged with disappointment, because I keep going back to that round at Maylands. That round I had at Maylands last week, 67, 4 under, which is what George shot today in a competitive round. I know I'm capable of it, and I guess that's what's going to keep me going forward. It sounds like I'm putting a brave face on it. Maybe I should, but I don't even know if I'm that disappointed. I feel like there's going to be good days and bad days in all of this, and today just wasn't a good day. But it's understandable given the situations, given the last few nights. I was at a wedding on Thursday. I was out Wednesday night. It hasn't been the best sleep schedule. Today was an early start. I think I did the best that I could have done. I did all my planning. I stuck to my routine. And today it just didn't quite work out on a course I didn't know. And yeah, just there's stuff to pick out of this one. This isn't just I don't just want to put this down to experience, because it'll be a good learning experience. But I guess a good thing is, I was comfortable in the company of George. I was comfortable with my game and
feeling like I belonged at that Fife county level, so that's good. I guess that's come from playing national stuff the last few weeks and feeling like I belonged there. And then today I just needed to get settled in, and I didn't. And that shows the importance of not just a good start, because I was 1 under through 3 today, but it's the way you do it. You just got to settle yourself down, let your body not be full of adrenaline, and then you can actually go and attack a golf course from it. I just never really settled down today because of that hectic start with the eagle with a provisional ball at the first, and then the birdie. I was just buzzing all over the place. So I did a good job of keeping my emotions in check, but inside it was volatile. It felt volatile inside today. So yeah, I think where we go from this, I'm going to have this evening off, obviously. I'm going to go do a big shop, get some food. I just need some time off today, maybe tomorrow morning, just to chill out and just settle down, do some mundane activities around the house, and then we get back to it. I want to dial in the wedges because I've had enough of not being able to hit 80 to 100 yard shots and actually knowing what was going on. So that's going to go. I'm going to go to the Dukes and practice those quite a lot this week. I've got a game at Scots Craig on Tuesday that's part of this Alan Tate Get Back to Golf Tour thing. So that's going to be a competitive round for my handicap. And I guess that's part of the disappointment today, is that's a round for my handicap. And I feel like all my good golf hasn't really translated into good scores for my handicap. That's just another one. And there's a good score coming out today from my handicap. So I think I was plus 1.2 going into today. And by the end of the day, I'm probably going to be, I don't know, like, I mean, who even cares anymore, but like plus 0.9, something like that. So it's a minor change, but it's just irritating because my handicap's getting worse, but I know that I'm getting better. So, you know, I don't want to judge myself by handicap, but it's just another little thing that vaguely irritates me. But yeah, there's plenty to take. Strategy, we'll take that on board. Maybe I've just got to be a bit more attacking, even if it's a blind shot that I don't know. I've just got to trust that I can hit it pretty straight, because I was hitting it pretty straight and pretty well today. So maybe I've just got to back myself a little bit more. And that seems to be a common theme with a lot of this. The best players are super confident and they back themselves. And if it doesn't come off, then they don't hold themselves responsible for it, really. It's just, oh, well, I'll get it next time, you know, kind of how people perceive that Phil Mickelson plays golf on tour. He just goes for every flag. And then on his day, he wins a tournament, and on his bad day, he doesn't. And it's like, okay, well, that's a pretty good upside, as long as you don't care about the downside. And maybe right now I care a bit too much about the downside. I don't want to have big blow-up rounds, and I'm normally pretty good at grinding. But maybe by doing that, I'm costing myself potentially low rounds because I'm playing well enough to hit the ball a bit further and leave myself some shorter shots. And you know, if I just hit it to 100 yards today, I would have hit it a lot closer because my 52 degree was a bit more dialed than it has been. So certainly with that shot that I hit 213, that was a good one. So things to learn, things to take away from it. There's some big tournaments coming up. This is by no means the biggest of them. So I wanted to do well today. It hasn't materialised. I'm going to go and chill out and catch up on sleep, and the only answer is to keep grinding. We know that it's right round the corner. It's feeling good. It's going to happen. I don't just want to be like fortune cookie wisdom. I don't just want to be like, you know, it's all right round the corner. I don't want to be that philosophical guy, even when he doesn't mean it. But I really know that it's round the corner. And I'm looking forward to seeing what event it all pieces together for. So those are my thoughts from the Fife Team Championship. Let's see where I take it from here.
So, as you now know, I shot a 77, which was 6 over par, and this contributed to our team total of 295 for the new golf club St Andrews, thanks to rounds of 70, 72 and 76 shot by the other 3 guys in the team. Overall, we came tied 4th as a team, out of the 27 on show, and we were 8 shots behind the eventual winners, Dunfermline Park, on 287, I apologise if I've got the pronunciation for that wrong. I've never been there. I hope to one day, because it sounds like they produce great golfers, because they had 3 players shoot under par from their team of 4, which was mightily impressive given that on the day, out of 107 in total, only 8 players broke par in total. So let's get into it. Do I still agree with my immediate post-game evaluation as you just heard? Well, yeah, on the day I was not pleased with my score, and I was a bit miffed at how I'd shot the score that I had. With the benefit of hindsight now, it's clear that not knowing the course cost me clear shots on a strategy front. Through not clubbing correctly, most notably from the tees on the 8th and 12th holes as I went into. I was 4 over for those 2 holes, and I shot 2 over for the other 16, so perhaps the round wasn't as bad as it felt afterwards, because you take those mistakes away and actually it was fairly respectable given how the rest of the field scored, I suppose. I think I also hit the nail on the head where I said my attitude was solid throughout. I stayed calm, I stayed optimistic, steady optimism throughout, and I managed to go through my process over every shot despite feeling uncomfortable throughout. And ultimately, it probably was a day where just a lot of different factors such as tiredness, course layout being brand new to me, the greens, how they were, and the strategy, the defensive strategy that I took off the tees. All of these factors effectively contributed to a death by 1,000 cuts. So overall, plenty to work on, but not necessarily anything majorly wrong that I can see, and I think it's fair to remain positive at this point about my game. So what have I learned, and how will I build upon this moving forward? Well, by laying up on so many holes, I think I definitely reduced the amount of holes I could attack with shorter wedges and thus make more birdies on. I've been adopting the layup strategy, as has been well documented at Craig Miller, at Battle Trophy, at all these new courses that I haven't seen before. And in general, I do think this does take big numbers out of the equation, like doubles and trebles. However, I'm now also realising that by laying up to a full pitching wedge, I've been somewhat reducing my opportunities to go low. My friend caddied for a Lady Tour Pro last year in New York at I guess it's an LPGA and an LET co-sanctioned event. And he said that her preferred layup distance was always a full lob wedge distance, not a pitching wedge distance. So perhaps I misinterpreted the advice I received before the practice round at the Battle Trophy. And by giving myself 120, i.e. a full pitching wedge to the flag every time instead of 90, this could have had a detrimental impact upon my scoring. Perhaps in the future, if I take on more risk from the tees at these new courses, I'll make more birdies if I hit it well, and that would be well worth the risk. Or at least a few birdie chances I would inevitably give myself by hitting it further down there. They can cancel out any errors of execution I might make, so even if I spray it off one tee, if I've made 2 birdies by being aggressive on other holes, because I'm generally pretty straight with my driver, that's kind of worth it. And on some days I won't even make the error, so some days you could go low, but as long as I keep going defensive, I'm taking the chance of shooting 67 out of the equation, which kind of makes no sense. It's like I'm reducing my chance of winning by taking the strategy that I am. It's clear that leaving myself longer putts at Pittreavie was not beneficial to me on the day, because birdies were out there, as we saw with the round of my playing partner George, who had his 67. And by being consistently 20 to 30 feet away, this also increased my chances of 3-putting given the flowery state of the greens. Especially in an 18-hole tournament, I think I just need to learn how to be aggressive in a smart way. It doesn't mean you have to get driver out all the time. There's going to be some chances, or some opportunities where laying up gains you something on the field, but I'm definitely giving back to the field by laying up all the time. To the 120, even though it feels like I'm being aggressive from 120, I can also be aggressive from 90. And 90 is different to 60, because that's not a... 60 is an in-between number. 90 is still a full number for me. That'd probably be a full 56 degree at the moment. And then you get more spin. You could be even more aggressive with that club, as opposed to a full pitch wedge from 120. I hope that kind of makes sense. I'm kind of just... I'm kind of just rambling out loud at this point. But especially in an 18-hole tournament, I think I need to learn how to be aggressive in a smart way, and figuring out which holes are worth going for. I need to be able to identify that better. Without a practice round, that will always be tough to do. However, if I have access to a yardage book, which was the case here at Pittreavie, perhaps I need to throw caution to the wind more and go for lower scores and potentially winning scores, even if that potentially means making bigger mistakes and shooting bad scores. I need to suck up my pride and to you got to speculate to accumulate, right? And at the moment, I'm probably not speculating enough. I'm just happy to stay under the radar. Ultimately, if I'd gone for it more at the 5 teams, would I have shot much worse than 77? Probably not. Because I would have made some birdies, and even if I'd made some mistakes, the birdies would have cancelled them out. So going forward, we need to refine our strategies and how we take golf courses apart, because one strategy won't fit every course. And so what worked at Crail, because laying up did work at Crail, we shot a level par round in that first round just by going to 120 when we could off the short par 4s, leaving myself full of shots in. That strategy isn't necessarily going to work at Pittreavie, and that's the art of building up a strategy, I suppose. So with more work on my short game over the next week or so, we can definitely build the confidence to start laying up closer to the hole on shorter par 4s and 5s where necessary, and this can only help my scoring moving forward. We're not saying hit it to 60 yards off the tees, but if we could put it to 90 and be aggressive from there, it's probably going to give us an increased chance of birdies as opposed to hitting it from 120. And that's my summary of the Fife Team Championship. Our next tournament is the local club's gold medal, hosted by the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St Andrews, and that's played over the old course on a Sunday, so it's a special occasion every year it is. And I hope you can join me for that. Thank you for subscribing and supporting my golfing journey. Your help is much appreciated, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully sharing more positive news with you throughout the season. Until then, I've been Freddie, you've been lovely. See you next time.